Hello, everybody. Welcome to Lunchtime Detroit Lions Talk, brought to you by Detroit Lions on the Prowl. And today we're going to talk about Darrell Bevell. How many games has he got to win to be the man of Detroit, and can he do that? We're going to find out later. We have our very first segment from the Featherman on fantasy football. That's coming your way. Dr. Jimmy Liao is in the building today, too, and he will give you the medical update on the Detroit Lions for the Packers game this weekend. But before we get to all that, I got to bring in my main man, the current man of steel, Kurt Steele.
What up, though? Welcome to the program, people. You know what we are. We are Detroit Lions on the Prowl, your home for Detroit Lions news and rumors. If you haven't done so already, join the family, subscribe to the channel, and like the videos, comment. We appreciate all that stuff. And ring that notification bell so you know when you're getting fresh content from us right here on Detroit Lions on the Prowl. All of those things help us get this content to more Lions fans just like yourself. Now let's get this thing started
right now.
Hey, welcome back to the show. You know what we do at this time. It's time to get at these comment cards. Jim, you up first.
Yeah, we got one from Liao Schull. If by any slim chance our coach wins out, would you keep him? I'd put him in the Hall of Fame.
The Lions Ring of Honor or something, man. Get him one of those Honolulu Blue Jackets. You know what I'm saying?
Something, yeah. He'd be on the Wall of Fame, the Ring of Fame, or whatever it is.
Yeah. It's one of those things. All right. It's Vexen says, off the topic, do you think it's a good idea if the Lions trade to get another first-round pick, draft Zach Wilson, then Devontae Smith, or a linebacker? We do need draft capital. I would say that. I don't know who we're going to trade to get a first-round pick.
That's what I was saying. I'm like, who's getting us a Stafford will probably want to get us a second. So I don't know.
I don't know who we would trade to get a first-round pick.
Get rid of that's going to get a first on this team. I
don't know. I don't know about that one, but I would say to get more draft capital, yes. A first-rounder, I don't know who we have on our team that would warrant a first-round pick. That's just me.
Dakota Baird, who rocks with us almost every show. What up, Doe? Watch the content every day. Keep doing what you're doing. Maybe a video on Brian Kelly, as I'm a huge Irish fan. Probably won't leave Notre Dame. You know what? Brian Kelly has a pretty impressive resume, though.
He does. However,
he's been in the league for like 60 years. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, but you know what, though? That's one of those programs, just like Alabama. It's kind of hard to get those guys out of there because they get any and everything they want at the institution. And to be honest with you, I'm probably one of the only Catholic people that do not like Notre Dame. I'm a Michigan fan. I am not an Irish fan. I grew up Catholic. But it's going to be hard to get him out of Notre Dame. But he does have an impressive track record at Notre Dame. And he just is a good coach.
He's to be honest with you. He's been there since 2010. So that, he's been there a little while, you know what I'm saying? So I think that, I don't know. His overall record is 252, 94, and 2. In bowl games, he's 6-5. In tournaments, he's 11-4. He has 2 NCAA Division II championships. It's not a bad resume.
Yeah. That guy can do it. We'll look at it. We get enough people that wants us to take a look at Brian Kelly. We just might get that video, Dakota.
Absolutely.
All right. Mark Simpson. Hey, hopefully no relation to the other guy. If Bevell, Bart or the juice. If Bevell wins 4 out of 5 games, what are his chances as Detroit Lions head coach? I would say it'll be hard to say he doesn't, and that's why we're doing this show today. It's kind of hard to say he doesn't deserve a chance if he wins 4 out of 5 games. That's just me.
You know what? I concur. We have the hardest schedule in the entire league, and we're going to get to that. But if he wins 4 out of 5 games, I nominate him for the Pope. I'm not kidding. That would be
the white
amazing.
Smoke. Yeah, especially with this murderer's row. Look at some of the, and it's not just the offenses that we're facing; it's some of the defenses that the Lions are going to face. Man, you look at Tennessee and Green Bay.
It's offensive.
The Bucks with that defense going up against Adamik Sue and those guys, and then you look at Minnesota. Those are some really tough games we got coming up. But really if he can get four out of 5 of those games, shoot, man, what? Yep. Now I will say this, and we're gonna bring it up a little bit later. That Chicago defense was pretty good too.
It was very good.
Yeah.
Okay, Mike Taft says, will the GM come before the coach, or the GM won't come by they want their coach? Okay, because they want their coach. Would Bevell be a good fit for another year at offensive coordinator? Now, this is going to be an interesting question. Because if Bevell wins all these games, could he be the coach, be put in place before the GM? That is a possibility. It really is. It's the Ford's family's decision on what they do. But generally, when you bring a new GM in, he cleans house and he brings his guys in. But some GMs come in and they give it a year. They keep the same people for a while. But would Bevell want to go down from head coach to OC again?
That's gonna be a tough question to ask him. Think about this. This guy came in, got the Lions in contention for the playoffs, and then you want to demote him back to OC. That'd be a tough. That'd be going to get some
head coaching looks from around the league if he does well with the Lions.
That is going to be very true. That's a very true statement. All right, last but certainly not least, Mr. Jason Baker. What up, Bake? Tracy Walker. About where does he average in the league? That is a very good question. We've had some very interesting questions about Tracy Walker, and we're going to do some things on Tracy Walker next week. So to answer your question, we'll get back with you on that one, Jason.
Yep, we'll get back with you on that one. The only thing I could find was fantasy stats, and he ranked 64th in the league in DBs. So that's all the back end there.
Because technically Tracy Walker is a defensive back. He's not really one thing. He can play corner. He can play safety. He can play free safety, strong safety.
Corner. I don't know. I wouldn't play corner.
I would not try to, but he has the ability to do that. That's why they call him a DB instead of a safety or a corner.
Yeah, they just lumped him in with everybody.
Yeah, lumped him in there. So that is the comment cards for today. We appreciate it. Thanks, Detroit Lions on the Prowl family, for keeping the questions coming, and we love the interaction with our family members right here on Detroit Lions on the Prowl. Now it is time for the man, the Feather Man. Let's look at some fantasy football news and advice.
What's cracking, Detroit Lions on the Prowl faithful? My name is Talyor Featherman, and this is Fantasy with Featherman, a brand new segment on an existing show that I'm very excited to do. I want to thank Jim and Kurt to start off with for giving me this shot. I didn't think fantasy football was something that I would want to pursue, but it's something I'm very passionate about, and I guess a junkie? I don't know. But anyway, I'm excited to share my thoughts with you guys, and hopefully at the end of the day, we can bring home a fantasy football championship together, because it is week 1, week 14 of the NFL fantasy football playoffs, that is. We've got a good show on tap. We're going to talk about some key points, mainly some players most common players that you'll find on fantasy football rosters, and kind of how that plays out. We've got some Christian McCaffrey news that broke today, which I know there's a lot of fantasy football owners out there who are just on the edge, like myself. We're going to give a Lions backfield update, because 3 guys involved. Who can you trust going forward in fantasy football? We've got a must-start player of the week, the Featherman must-start player of the week. And lastly, we're going to answer a fan question that got tweeted at me, and I love that. Hopefully we can do more of that. Get at me on Twitter, @feather_24, down there. Hit me up on Twitter. Any fantasy football questions you've got, I'm more than happy to answer, or at least throw my lukewarm opinion at you. So let's get right into it. All right, our first topic, as we stated, it is playoff time, and basically like they do every year, ESPN came out with their list of the players that are most common on fantasy football team playoff rosters, and there's the ones that everybody has. You know, Travis Kelce, average draft position 19, Dalvin and Alvin, respectively 5, 6, Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams, 16, 17. What that tells you is that in the top 19, there was about 5 guys that really panned out like they should have. And I mean, if you go back and look at the average first round, it goes to show just how much of a crapshoot fantasy football is and how much luck and analytics have to come together to let you hoist that trophy. And what really matters is the difference maker players, I call them. You know, the guys like Darren Waller on Vegas, average draft position 60. Justin Jefferson, the rookie, average draft position 152. He's a wideout 1, maybe 2. Kyler Murray, average draft about 55. DK Metcalf, 61. Diggs, 73. Stephon Diggs, brand new team. How's he going to do? Pretty good. Pretty good. He's driving you to the playoffs. Well, I hinted at it a little bit. Undrafted Mike Davis. Why did that one matter? I mean, he flamed out with the Bears. He was okay on the Seahawks. But obviously, anyone who's watching this knows Christian McCaffrey got hurt. Basically, the consensus #1 pick in fantasy football this year. Week 1, a monster. 97 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns, 3 receptions to boot against the Raiders, which that PPR leagues, that matters a lot. Week 2, 59 yards on the ground, a little bit quieter, still 2 touchdowns, 4 receptions on the ground. That's versus the Bucks. And late in the game, ankle injury. Boom, sidelined him till week 9. 7 weeks in the middle there. That's tough for fantasy owners, but that's stomachable. You can make that. You can find some plug-and-play guys, maybe Mike Davis, but you can find guys to fill that void. Comes back against Kansas City, 69 yards, 1 touchdown. Here's the kicker. Again, PPR leagues, 10 receptions. That's a good day for a wideout, yet alone out of the backfield, plus a receiving touchdown. When this guy's good, he's good. But right at the end of the game, kind of jumping out of bounds, trying to hold the clock, AC joint. I bet you know what that feels like. Out a couple more weeks. That was week 9. Out a few more weeks. Week 12, he seemed pretty close. But, hey, we got the bye week 13. Let's get through the bye. Bring him back healthy week 14, which, to you fantasy football owners out there, music to your ears. We'll get him back week 14, 15, 16. That's the championship run right there. Unless you play in a league which has week 17, in which case, leave it. Leave it and quit. You're in a fake league. It's bogus. Also, I'd say the same for non-PPR. But that's not why I'm here. Anyway, everyone was thinking Christian's back week 14, strong for the playoffs. Not the case. Doubtful. He hurt his quad in a private workout. All right, moving right along, a couple rapid-fire ones before we move into our fan question asked and answered. A Lions backfield update. DeAndre Swift limited practice yesterday, which was Thursday. Kerryon Johnson a full practice with that knee, lingering knee. The Lions backfield's really tough right now. If healthy, DeAndre Swift's the guy, right? The Georgia back. He's been earning that respect all season. He starts to get into a rhythm, and then boom, out for a few weeks. Kerryon Johnson is such an interesting. It's so tough to figure out. But the one thing through it all, Adrian Peterson, 2 touchdowns each of the last 2 weeks. All of the Lions running backs, in my eyes, you'll have to see where DeAndre Swift. If DeAndre Swift is active, I think he's a flex option play or an RB2. And that's a good RB2 with a huge ceiling, right? And hopefully you're a guy who has Christian, who just went out, or is doubtful, hasn't officially been out, probably will today, Friday. But you can plug and play a guy like DeAndre Swift in that role, and he's going to produce. But I'd say the same thing about Adrian Peterson. I mean, he had 15 and 16 carries the last 2 weeks, 2 touchdowns each week, like I said. That's the kind of guy where they're going to give him the red zone carries. Inside the 20, he's getting the rock. And I think AP is... We'll have to see what comes with the Swift news, but I think as right now, Adrian Peterson would be my play out of this backfield. But my must-start for the entire Detroit Lions is my man Matty Stafford. Last week against the Bears, 400 yards, 3 touchdowns. Sure, he had the pick, but just best performance of the year for Matty, and really coming around. Against Green Bay, another divisional game, I think probably close to the same caliber defense of the Bears, maybe a little better coverage, not quite as good pass rush. But I think Matthew Stafford is a must-start this week in your fantasy league, depending on what your quarterback depth looks like, but definitely be looking at Matthew Stafford for a start this week. My main Featherman's must-start of the week, and I think that a lot of people are on this one, so I don't want to act like it's a super hot tip, but the Tennessee Titans wideout Corey Davis. He was #1 in all of fantasy football as a wide receiver last week, and there's some really good wide receivers in the NFL, as you know. Everyone loves A.J. Brown. everyone loves A.J. Brown. Your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad, everyone loves A.J. Brown, but he's got those DK hands. He can't catch. He can. He's really good, way better than me, but sometimes they just hit him in the face mask, and typically when it happens to A.J., it seems like he's 30 yards down the field. Those hurt as a fantasy owner, especially week 1 of the playoffs. Corey Davis catches them balls. Corey leads A.J. in catches, yards, 20-yard receptions, yards per route ran, and first down yards. First down catches. What all that tells me is he's gaining that trust of Ryan Tannehill. He's a guy where, when he first came out, I was thinking, but he's going to be really good. Wasn't very good his rookie year. Wasn't very good his second year. Last year was okay. This year, he was a guy that really got overlooked, and everyone's saying he needs a breakout year. This is that year. He's gaining that trust. He's gaining that confidence. Corey Davis is going to be the kind of guy who you plug, who's been on probably your bench all season. He's the kind of guy you plug in your starting lineup down the stretch. He's going to win you leagues. Week 14, I'm putting all my chips in, which is a ballsy move on week 1 of your first fantasy show. But Corey Davis is my must-start player of the week. So moving on, we've got one segment left, and it's the fantasy fan question, asked and answered. This week's fantasy fan question comes to us from @Paul Scottasy. I hope I said your name right, but if not, 440 Tribe, shout out. And what he asked is Herbert or Murray. Of course, Justin Herbert, rookie quarterback, Kyler Murray, second year. This is tough. First of all, like I'll say when I responded on the tweet, what a wonderful position to be in. I mean, at this point in the season, if you're worried about your quarterback play, you're in trouble. It's okay to be kind of plug and play on defense and kicker. And if you are, the Cardinals against the Jets this week, or against the Giants, I think could be a good defensive play. I don't trust Colt McCoy. I know a lot of people are hyped up on him after last week, and I don't know if Daniel Jones is ready to go or not. I don't know if that news has broke yet. I think he might be, but even then, I think that Cards defense against the Giants, Budda Baker's a monster, so you could plug and play defense. You could do that. You could plug and play kicker. Jason Sanders is available in a lot of leagues for the Dolphins. He's been over 10 points like the last 4 weeks. He's a good kicker. So you can do that, but plugging and playing quarterback at this point in the season is detrimental. You can't do it. I mean, you can, and maybe you're lucky and you're just ballsier than I, but spooky. So if you have Justin Herbert, or Kyler Murray, you're first of all sitting pretty. I think just purely matchup-wise, I like Justin Herbert's matchup against the Falcons better. On average, the Falcons give up to opposing quarterbacks 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. As a fantasy quarterback, that is a great day. You're happy with that. Take it to the bank. The Giants, on average, whose Kyler Murray is playing, the Cardinals are playing, 260 and about 1.3 touchdowns. So not as good. The big difference to me, and like I said to old Paul on Twitter, it's just the difference comes to their legs, right? When the play breaks down, Kyler has that Russell Wilson, right? He can get out, he can make things happen, he can move around. And so far this season, 665 yards on the ground and 10 touchdowns. 10 touchdowns on the ground. Most leagues, right, you're getting 4 for a passing touchdown, 6 for a rush. That's really big points. That's why Kyler gets those 35, those 40s, those 40 burgers. Kyler Murray, to me, is the play here, and it really comes down to his legs. Being able to have a quarterback, I think either way you can't go wrong. I have Herbert in a couple leagues. I have Kyler in a couple leagues. I don't have them both in one, but I'm happy to start either of these guys this week. I think Herbert's going to bounce back. I know he had just a turd burger of a game last week, but I think he's bouncing back this week against the Falcons. I think Kyler, who also is coming off kind of a couple rough starts, hopefully his shoulder's doing better. He was questionable early in the week, deemed healthy now. He's coming back strong, I think, this week too. I think both these guys, you can't go wrong, but if you're pitting them against each other, I would go Kyler Murray. I think he has a higher ceiling, and his floor is a little bit lower than your boy Herbie's. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this. Again, my name's Talyor Featherman. Tweet me some questions at @feather_24 on Twitter. I'll respond to you on Twitter, and if they're good enough, I'll bring them on the show like we did with Paul Scottasy's tweet. And I appreciate it. Kurt and Jim, back to you guys.
Wow, thank you, the Featherman and his fantasy football takes. Oh, that was a really good segment, guys, and we're looking forward to bringing you that each and every week. So be looking forward to that. That was an amazing segment. Now we're going to go into the main course. Is Darrell Bevell the man in Detroit? And for some stats on Darrell Bevell and his career, I'm going to go to Kurt.
All right. His career history as a coach in the league or in college goes as such. Westmar, he was a passing game coordinator and a quarterbacks coach. That's back in 96. 97, he was the Iowa State graduate assistant. And in 98 to 99, he was a Connecticut wide receivers coach. Then he moved to the NFL in 2000 to 2002. He was with the Packers as an assistant quarterback coach. From 2003 to 2005, he was a quarterback coach at the Packers as well. And then he moved over to the division rival, Minnesota Vikings. From 2006 to 2010, he was the offensive coordinator there. Then he moved to the Great Northwest. He was the Seattle Seahawks offensive coordinator 2011 to 2017. Took a couple of years out of the league. Then he came to Detroit in 2019 as the OC, and he is currently the interim head coach. Some of the career highlights, of course, he was a Super Bowl champion with the Seattle Seahawks the year they blew out the Denver Broncos. That they just ran roughshod all over the Broncos that year. That was an amazing performance by as he was a coordinator. One of the biggest things that people really don't realize that he was a Rose Bowl winning quarterback in college at the University of Wisconsin. He won the Rose Bowl out there. And while he was at Wisconsin, he was mentored by one Brett Favre, and he became his quarterback coach at Green Bay. So he went from the mentor to the teacher, mentee to the teacher. So he was a student, became a teacher in Green Bay with him, with Brett Favre. And he was responsible for the development of Russell Wilson as a rookie. So think about the job he did out there in Seattle with Russell Wilson, actually leading the team to the Super Bowl as offensive coordinator. He went back-to-back Super Bowls, but of course we know about the pass at the goal line, which will be probably the most biggest bonehead call there was in a Super Bowl where you have beast mode back there. He could have just ran that in from the 1 yard line, but I digress. But I think he has a decent, impressive coaching background. And one other note, as far as Bevell and a player that's on the Lions right now, he was Adrian Peterson's offensive coordinator when he won the league MVP.
Oh, wow. Another thing about Bevell that I know about as well is when he was drafted in the third round, Russell Wilson was. Darrell Bevell was instrumental in them picking him. He scouted him. He approached Carroll about it and the other people, and it was on him really that they drafted Russell Wilson.
Yeah, they called him his. That was Bevell's project. Think about this. Yep. You had Matt Flynn came out hot from just really subbing in for Tom Brady out there in New England because Brady was hurt with the knee injury, and he really was the hot thing in the league right then. Matt Flynn was like, okay, he finally got his chance. He's going to go out here to Seattle and get his shot in the Great Northwest. And Russell Wilson was like, no, you don't. So, and Bevell was instrumental in that process.
Well, Bevell's been in the league a long time. He's been under some really good head coaches. My thing about Bevell is I did not like his offense. I mean, his offensive scheme changed a lot since he came over from Seattle. I don't know what the heck was going on there, to be quite honest, but I think it has something to do with Matt Patricia. Bottom line on Bevell, wins matter. And if he continues to win, he's now already the most winningest head coach in Lions history at 1-0.
You're killing me with that one, bro.
Win percentage is 1,000. So
yeah,
if he can continue to win, he actually probably has a really good chance of being head coach.
That's a fair assessment. Just because of the fact that if you look at where he took over the team and they were on a downward spiral, and he can get that team to play that way. Now, look at we talked about this a little bit ago, talking about some of the defenses he's going to face in the upcoming games. But the defense that he faced on Sunday was the fourth ranked overall defense in the league. And they were healthy. And coming into that game, they were pretty much at full strength. So, and Matthew Stafford carved them up like it was Thanksgiving when the turkey, he was killing them. So if he can do that, versus Green Bay, which has a really young secondary, they have a issue versus good quarterbacks. So if that's the case, if Matthew Stafford can play that way versus them and compete, that gives them a chance against Green Bay. It's just the defensive part that's going to be Ellen's defense is going to be the issue coming up on Sunday.
This team that without Kenny Galladay.
Yep.
Without
DeAndre Swift.
DeAndre Swift, the two biggest weapons on the team. Stafford goes for 400 yards. I mean that's huge. They're starting.
Huge.
Hey, they discovered T.J. Hawkinson exists.
Yeah.
Under Bevell.
And they got rid of the person who was a legitimate deep threat on their team.
Yeah.
They cut him, and it didn't make a difference.
Marvin Jones.
Yeah, Marvin Hall. Hall.
We have too many Halls and Joneses in this team.
Yeah, we got too many Marvs. We had too many Marvs. They had to get rid of one of the Marvs
too. They had to get rid of Matt Patricia because there were too many
Matt
Matts.
Patricia. Yeah, too many Matts. The other fat Matt is still missing extra points and field goals right now. So
I know.
We'll talk about him later.
Yeah, I was drinking the Praterade earlier, but man, all of a sudden, dude is not doing well at all. We're gonna get into that next week too.
He's killing me. He is killing me. He is killing me.
I know. So,
but Bevell, yeah, man, he's been under some good head coaches. Mike Holmgren up there in Green Bay, Pete Carroll in Seattle, Leslie Frazier up there in Minnesota. I mean, just some really, really solid head coaches that he worked under.
All of that doesn't make a difference. I think what does make a difference is two things. If he wins 4 out of 5 games, he's the miracle worker, and you need to hire him as head coach. That's the first thing. But the second thing is, who do we hire as GM? Because the GM will put his coach in there, and I don't think Bevell's going to want to go back down to offensive coordinator, to be honest with you. I don't.
That is very true.
And I think he will get another head coaching job somewhere else if he does really well here.
Yeah,
no, it's not going to happen. I don't think we're going 4-5 or having 4 wins out of the next 5 games.
Yeah.
I see us winning 2 out of the next, the last ones of the year, and that's generous.
So you have them going 3-2 overall, or 2-3?
I gotta say 2 and 3. I think this team gets one more win out of the rest. I said 2. I was thinking 2 total.
Okay, so
he gets one win out of these next 4, and I think that's actually pretty good. But yeah, Green Bay is going to be a test. Green Bay is motoring over people, and
they are. You know what? They are racking up especially.
And you have to imagine the refs will
Aaron
be on
Jones
their side too. So
Aaron Jones is
killer.
That guy's a problem. I mean, he's not a problem for the Lions. He's a problem, period. That guy is a problem. Yeah.
And our run defense is so good right now because we don't have what's his name that I keep forgetting the fat guy's name.
Danny Shelton.
Danny Shelton. We have Tennessee, but we had both of them. And when both of them were in there, that was pretty good. Trey Flowers should be coming back at some point. But we don't really have a great run defense. We don't.
Nah, we don't. It's gonna be one of those things. It's gotta have to be a collective effort. We're gonna have to do one thing that we definitely didn't do under Patricia is make adjustments.
Yeah, we actually looked better at the second half. Which that has not happened this year.
Not at all.
If this team ever jumps out to a lead, I think that they could sustain that lead. So that's how I kind of feel about Darrell Bevell. What's your bottom line on Darrell Bevell? Do you believe that he's going to be the next coach of the Detroit Lions?
Yep. Do I think if he's a miracle worker and we can get to where we're in playoff contention and maybe even get in, he gets my vote of confidence. Other than that, it's going to be tough for me to say yes.
Yeah, I think the new GM's going to bring in his guy, and I think this is a hard no for me.
Yeah, I think that it's an audition for the other 31 teams in the league.
I think it is too, but if he, like I said, he wins out or he wins 4 out of 5, I don't know how you get rid of him. I don't know how you do it.
It's going to be a tough pill to swallow. I hope that the next GM doesn't do what Bob Quinn did. You don't, if he keeps Bevell and Bevell has a winning season, you don't fire him the next year just because you don't think it's not good enough.
Right. Let's go a little bit in a different direction. We're going to go into the game preview a little bit. We're not going to do much on it, but Green Bay versus Detroit. I think that this game comes down to we don't have enough people. If DeAndre Swift plays great, Galladay's out, we're pretty sure. We got the injury report coming up next after we get done with this preview by Dr. Jimmy Liao, so we'll get to that in a minute. But what are your
Yeah.
thoughts about this Green Bay Lions?
It's going to be
game this
tough.
week?
It's going to be some tough sledding. It's just like I said, but the two Aarons are an issue, but I think even Jones is going to be a bigger issue just because he's running roughshod over the league right now. That guy is bananas. And then you have the other guy whose name Williams is his backup, the second guy.
Yeah.
He's just as good. And Aaron Rodgers is just going to be a beast. Our secondary is beat up. It's depleted. Whether it wasn't that good to begin with. I think it's going to be dependent on if Corey Unlin makes adjustments. And one person that you have to double is going to be Devontae Adams, who is also feasting on guys.
Yeah.
You can't
tackle him right off the line.
You can't leave a warrior out there by himself trying to cover him like they did Okuda in the first matchup. You're going to have to give him some help on
lots of help
on Devontae Adams because he's just that good. That guy's a precise route runner. He has a good get off the line. You have to kind of push him off the line. And I think that one thing the Lions going to have to do is pressure that secondary in Green Bay. They're young. They're not that great. So Matthew Stafford is going to have to push the ball down the field. I think that the overall bottom line, I think the Lions lose a tough game in Ford Field on Sunday.
I think they lose as well. My thing is, though, I don't see any way to win. That's my problem. I mean, if we get into a shootout, our defense, I don't think is going to be able to hold them up long enough. And our team uses the silver shoot yourself in the foot offense. So, you know what I mean? I mean, there's just cases where we run right up the middle, and then Stafford throws it away or gets sacked. You get one of those series like every game. It's scripted, I think.
Well, I mean, we'll see what Bev has turned up, what adjustments he's making, looking at the kick from the last game, looking at the performance from maybe even last season, where we can kind of look at what we can exploit against the Green Bay Packers because they have holes.
Yeah, I don't think Green Bay's got Chicago's defense.
Yeah, they don't have Chicago's defense. Their defense is average at most, but that offense is high octane, high powered, and will murder you real quick. So that's the issue for me with Green Bay, and I think that we don't have a good enough defense to kind of keep them at bay.
Me neither. I got Green Bay in this one. I don't have a score because it's a new regime for us, and for them it's the same old, and I know that the refs helped them out, and I am totally counting on that in this game as well.
Yeah.
So even if we were close, even if we could keep it close, they would throw some flags. I don't see there's any chance of us winning this game whatsoever.
I saw a picture on Twitter the other day, and it says game preview: Lions versus the Packers, and the Lions had the Lions team, and the Packers had the refs.
Ain't that the truth? That's our game preview, right? And now we're gonna throw it to the good doctor, Dr. Jimmy Liao.
Welcome, fellow Lions fans. We are 1-0 in the post-Patricia era. We're only one game out of a possible playoff spot somehow. We really need to run the table to give ourselves a chance, though. So that means it would really help if DeAndre Swift and Kenny Golladay would return. Both of those cases are curious situations that are not necessarily straightforward injury issues, so we'll get into that. So let's start with DeAndre Swift. His initial concussion, reported on November 19th, likely happened the day before. There was no report that he hurt himself in practice, so it could have been something after practice. He's been listed with the LP yesterday, Wednesday, with an illness designation. Now, he missed 2 games after the concussion, which was expected because the Thanksgiving game was only a week after the initial concussion. Lions typically don't have the guy return until 2 weeks. So that was not unexpected. He had LPs the 2 days prior to the Thanksgiving game. He also had an LP last Wednesday and then passed the concussion protocol by Thursday, but then was out with this mysterious illness. Now, the Lions are saying that this has nothing to do with the concussion. So what could be going on here with this illness? Possibilities are it could be post-concussion symptoms still. I talked about this last episode. A player needs to report post-concussion symptoms. Otherwise, The neurologist, the doctors will not know anything about it, and they will pass him through the concussion protocol. Another possibility is some kind of cold, flu, COVID-related issue. Now, I've seen more players in the NFL listed with this generic illness this year than I've ever seen before, and it might be a COVID-related reason. Any player with cold flu symptoms likely is going to be held out, and smartly held out, for a short period of time, just to try to make sure that he doesn't have COVID and is not going to infect a huge percentage of the team and knock a bunch of guys out for the next game. Another possibility is some kind of non-related illness issue, like a gastroenteritis or a stomach issue. There could be anything going on with that. Now, on my YouTube channel, Alpha1102 had a good question. He said, so if Swift is suffering post-concussion symptoms, what would be an approximate timeline for his return? Now, with post-concussion symptoms, the reality is all up to the player. If he chooses to not report symptoms, he'll pass through the concussion protocol and he can play at any time. Swift has already passed the concussion protocol, which means he did not report any symptoms during any of the protocol steps. Now, he could still report symptoms at this point and get put back in the protocol again. Unlikely, but that's a possibility. There's no way to predict how long post-concussion symptoms will last. Everybody's different. And the symptoms are extremely vague, so it's hard to know for sure if a symptom is related to a concussion or is just something else and completely unrelated. For example, with DeAndre Swift's lack of energy issue, is that post-concussion, or could that be just not sleeping well or some kind of social issue causing stress that's causing lack of energy? Hard to say. Is a headache a post-concussion symptom, or is it an unrelated tension headache, migraine headache, or even a sinusitis? Is mental fogginess post-concussion, or is it lack of sleep, stress, having to homeschool your kids, which is driving you nuts? Could be anything. So it's not necessarily obvious if a symptom is post-concussion or not, and there's no test that can be done to determine it. CT, MRI, blood work, not helpful. Physical exam by a doctor, also not helpful in differentiating things. So you got guys like Travis Swanson, who missed months due to post-concussion issues. Javid Best, who missed years. Now, most guys in the NFL are back and playing in 2 weeks. That's the trend with the Lions, at least the past few years. And you even have guys like Matthew Stafford, who I strongly suspect had a mild concussion earlier this year in the Vikings game. Check out episode 28 for analysis of that. He passed the initial test and did not self-report any concussion symptoms. So he did not miss any time. Now, as a side note, as an advice for GMs and a future Lions GM, if a player misses more than the minimum with a concussion, that's a huge red flag for me. I'm reluctant to sign a guy like that to a long-term contract or any kind of big money, guaranteed money kind of deal because of this whole self-reporting issue. You risk having a player sit out multiple games or even the rest of his contract due to post-concussion symptoms, because a player could report post-concussion symptoms indefinitely. So as far as Swift's status for this upcoming game, we need to hope for a full practice Thursday and or Friday. If he gets that, that's a good sign he'll play, but it's really hard to predict. Let's talk about Kenny Golladay, whose initial injury was November the 1st. His situation is similar to Swift in that it's not clear-cut what's going on here. I likely feel he had a left hip flexor strain, which is a 2 to 4 week injury. Remember, Julio Jones returned in 2 weeks with this kind of injury. Danny Amendola, who may have had a similar injury, was back in 3 weeks this year. So Galladay's now 5.5 weeks post-injury. He certainly could be still having the injury. His severity may have been higher than initially thought. But there's a good chance he's close to being ready, if not already there. Now, his contract situation is a factor. He wants to be healthy going into the offseason because he's in the last year of his deal. He wants to sign a big deal in the offseason. He does not need any kind of ACL, Achilles, or a Dak Prescott type injury going into the offseason. So this means there's a chance he could sit out the rest of the year, just to ensure that there's no risk of that. I'm sure he's had discussions with his agent about weighing the risk reward of playing any games this year. My prediction is he would be back either next week against the Titans or the week after versus the Bucs, thus giving him 2 or 3 games to show to the Lions and other GMs that he's healthy going into the offseason while not playing too many games to take on any unnecessary risk. I would say he's definitely out for the Packers game this Sunday. Now, other injury issues, Trey Flowers and Julian Okwara reportedly have been starting to practice or maybe practicing. They're not going to be on the injury report because they're still on IR, but they could be activated off IR at any time. So those guys would be really helpful if we're trying to run the table this season. All right, leave any comments or questions on YouTube or Twitter at Jimmy Liao MD. Thanks.
Hey, thanks there, good doctor. We appreciate you bringing us that good information on the pain train. Now it is time for the question of the day. Jim, what you got?
Do you guys think that Darrell Bevell gets retained? And if so, how many games does he have to win to be retained? So it's a two-parter today. First part, do you think Darrell Bevell gets retained? But in the second part, how many games do you think he has to win to get that achievement? So that is the question of the day, and we love our end segment here, the last segment of the show, because we saved the best for last. It is the dessert with Kurt.
All right, it is time for some tasty morsels, some good news out of Allen Park. He's on the shelf right now, but Trey Flowers is the Detroit Lions NFL Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee. He is this selection for the team, and that makes him up for the overall award for the team for his philanthropy efforts and his overall community service. So that is the dessert for the day. Congratulations to my man, Trey Flowers, for being the Walter Payton Man of the Year for the Detroit Lions.
You guys, we really appreciate you rocking with us. I'll tell you what, man, our fans are just rabid Lions fans, and we try to give you the best content that we possibly can. If you have any ideas for the show, put them in the comments below, because we do listen to our fans. We do listen to the people that rock with us on this show. We think you're a vital part of this whole thing, and we want you to be a part as much as you can.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you very much, everybody. And now I'm going to have Kurt take us home.
Hey, you know what it is. We are the Detroit Lions on the Prowl. We are your home for Detroit Lions news and rumors. Come on in, join the family, subscribe to the channel. And while you're over there, hit the notification bell so you know when you're getting fresh content from us right here on Detroit Lions on the Prowl. Go over and check out our social media pages. Our social media goddess, Val Bordeaux, does an excellent job of keeping you informed on all Detroit Lions news and rumors over there on our Facebook page and social media platforms as well. We just really appreciate you here. We love our family right here on the show. So keep it up, keep coming, commenting, sharing, and helping us get this content to more Lions fans just like yourself. Now, you know what you got to do. Whatever you do in life, you got to boss up, ball out, and be the best version of you that you can be. Now, for my man Jim, right here on Detroit Lions on the Prowl, this is Kurt Steele, and we will holler at you real soon.